Bye. Take a vote.
Shall we take a vote?
You want to take off the glasses?
How many want to take a break now? Majority wins. What can I say? Okay.
Ambika. Okay, what happened to Amba over there?
She wanted to marry her husband, and that man said, since you were with this guy, you can't marry me. And so she went to ask Bhishma, and Bhishma had taken a vow not to marry.
So in her final analysis, she ended up not having anyone. Okay. Then, how does it go then? From Ambika, you have? Ambika comes Dhritarashtra, and then the Kauravas, Ambalika, Pandu, Pandavas. Okay, you have said most of it very correctly. Let's look at it again. Santanu, King Santanu, Ganga, Bhishma, nothing any further after that because Bhishma never married. He's the only one who can help you. Ask her to see if she would do this for you all. That as soon as you're born, that you will die, and that way you don't have to live a complete life again. And that's what happened. Okay. Why was Bhishma the only one who was saved? And why did he have to live? Why could he not go like the other Vasus? Why? No, but what happened about this 8th child? Why was that 8th child supposed to live longer? Ganesha?
That's because King Santanu asked her why she was...
Yeah, but it was ordained, right? It was preordained. Why was it all preordained that this one person, one of the Vasus, has to live longer? Do you know why? Yes? Because one of them stole the cow, and this person who actually stole the cow had to have a greater punishment. You see? The others were part of it. They were accomplices. But this one person who actually took the cow, the sage said that you have to live longer. And so the 8th child had to live longer. Okay? What do you know about Amba? What are some of the qualities of Amba? What happened? Yes, Shobha?
At first she was a very sweet and nice girl. Everyone liked her. But she always she wanted to have what she wanted, not what was best for her.
No. What happened to her? Do you remember what happened to her? Yes, Ramesh?
She got well, when Bhishma won Amba and
Ambalika and Ambika, the 3 sisters.
She said to Bhishma that this other prince wanted
to marry him.
Yeah. And so Bhishma said that, okay, you can go to this person who you want to marry. And so when she reaches the prince that she wants to marry, the prince said, you are in someone else's.
No, Bhishma won you, and according to the codes of the way that the brides were selected, he felt that Bhishma had won her fairly and that he could not marry her anymore. And then when Bhishma asked Vichitravirya to please marry her, he said, I can't marry her because she's committed to marrying someone else. In her heart, she wants to marry someone else. So all around what happened was, she was left in the loose. And what happened? How did she react to all this? That is what is the important thing. I know a lot of wrong things happened to her. How did she react to all this? Goku?
She got mad
At Bhishma. Because she felt that, what did she feel, Nandu?
that he had started the whole thing.
That he was the cause of the whole thing. She wanted to put the blame on someone for what was happening to her. So she put all the blame on Bhishma. And she dedicated her whole life to what? What did she dedicate her whole life? Yes. She wanted revenge. And she felt that that was the only way that her heart was going to be at peace. Was it ever at peace? No. So what do you learn from that? That when you are all consumed only with revenge and only out to get someone, you may think that, yeah, I'm going to win. When I get this person and do something to them, boy, am I going to feel pleased. But do you really feel pleased? Not really. It's very momentarily that you feel pleased. But the amount of energy that is spent, all the energy that is spent in planning and plotting and conniving and doing all this, such a terrible waste of one's life, isn't it? She was born again, remember? How did she finally kill Bhishma? Do you remember? How many of you remember that? No. She helped Arjuna. Arjuna would never have killed Bhishma without her help. Who remembers that story? Yes, Sukrita? Okay, what happened then? Anyone think that? You're pretty close. Who's not had a turn so far? Yes, Goku?
She asked a lot of things. She asked in the next life if she could kill Bhishma. So she was born to
King Drupada
King Drupada.
as his daughter. She was born as a daughter to him. Then what happened? Do you remember before that she did a lot of penance to Lord Subramanya and he gave her a garland. Do you remember that? And he told her that if you can make someone wear this garland, then that person would be the enemy for Bhishma. But was she able to convince anyone to wear that garland? No, nobody wanted to be an enemy of Bhishma. So finally, in utter desperation, she went to the Himalayas or to the mountains and did a lot of penance to Lord Shiva. And he asked her, why are you doing all this? And she says, that's all I want. So he said, okay, if that's what you want, then you have to be born again. And you will be born to the daughter, as a daughter for King Drupada. And then she was born. And when she saw the garland, what she did was before she hung that garland on his gate. So when she was born as his daughter, she saw that garland and wore it. King Drupada, who wants to continue the story?
Why did she put it on herself before?
On herself before?
Because she didn't want to wear it then.
Because Lord Subramanya said, you make someone else wear it. And that person, see, Bhishma would never fight a woman. He would not do that. It was against his codes of honor to fight against a woman. And so he would never fight her. You see? And so she wanted someone else to do it for her. And she couldn't get anyone. Anyway, finally what happened? When she wore the garland, what happened? Yes, Arun.
King Drupada threw her out.
He was really all agitated. My gosh, this daughter of mine, she's going to incur Bhishma's wrath. And I don't want that. And so he exiled her. You know what exile means? Sent her away to the forest. And then what happened? Yes, Ramesh.
And then
In the war, she joined the
Now again she did a lot of penance. She did a lot of penance and what happened? Yes, Shobha.
Shiva said that now if you want to kill him, you've got to be a man to do it. And so I'll make you in the form of a man as soon as you die. But she was so desperate that she killed herself.
No. She did a lot of penance and through that she got transformed into a man and she became Sikandar and she, as a charioteer, went in the war. And then how was Arjuna able to kill Bhishma? Yes, Arun.
Well, he stayed behind.
And what happened? I mean, what was it that made him able to kill Bhishma? Yes, Jayashri? Yeah, Bhishma would not fight. He would not fight at all. He knew that she was a woman, and so he would not fight. And that's how. Anyway, right, exactly. Bhishma felt his work was over and he wanted to die anyway. Yes.
What isn't killing a woman and killing a relative Bhishma about the same thing?
Say that again?
Isn't killing a woman and killing a relative the same thing? They're both doing their duty.
Killing a woman.
Why should... That was Bhishma's particular...
See, I told you, remember, before I started this, there were certain codes of honor in all this. Whenever they fought, they had a certain code by which they fought. And they would not fight, and it was his code that he would not fight a woman. And he would do that even if it meant his own life would go. But to fight for a cause, when it was right, like, when Arjuna asked Krishna, I don't want to fight these people. And Krishna tells him that you have to do it because it is your duty. That again is considered as a code. To do something that is right, even if it means that you have to kill your relatives. So those are two different things. Okay? Any other questions? So that is pretty good. I never expected you all to remember so much. Okay, today I'm going to read you another story. Yes.
Didn't he use Arjuna's arrows?
Who? Arjuna used his arrows to kill him, but he hid behind the second.
No, he used Arjuna's arrows.
No, Sikandar did not kill Bhishma. It was Arjuna who did it, protected by the charioteer. Because Bhishma would not. Arjuna was trying, but he just could not. All the arrows would just go and hit Bhishma and nothing would happen. And Bhishma would fight at that time. But the minute Arjuna was behind Sikandar, Bhishma wouldn't fight. Because that was against his code of honor. He wouldn't fight. Yes.
Why did he just live for a few minutes and then die like that? Well,
Remember, Bhishma was supposed to be a very great man, and he was of the gods. He was like a god. And he came down to this earth for a purpose. And when his purpose had been served, he felt that it was enough. And things happen like that. Somehow things would happen that at the right time, they would just go. He had lived long enough. Okay? Now we will read about Drona. Listen to this. Drona, the son of a Brahmana named Bharadwaja, after completing his studies of the Vedas and Vedangas, devoted himself to the art of archery and became a great master. Drupada, the son of the king of Panchala, who was a friend of Bharadwaja, was a fellow student of Drona in the hermitage, and there grew up between them a generous intimacy of youth. That means they became extremely friendly. They were very, very good friends. Drupada, in his boyish enthusiasm, would often tell Drona that he would give him half his kingdom when he became king, when he ascended the throne. After completing his studies, Drona married the sister of Kripa, and a son, Ashwatthama, was born to them. Drona was very much attached to his wife and son, and for their sake, he wanted to acquire some wealth, a thing which he had never cared for before. Learning that Parashurama was distributing his riches among the Brahmanas, he first went to him. But he was too late, as Parashurama had already given away all his wealth and was about to retire to the forest. But, anxious to do something for Drona, Parashurama offered to teach him the use of weapons, of which Parashurama was a supreme master. Drona joyfully agreed, and great archer as he already was, he became an unrivaled master of the military art, worthy of eager welcome as a guru in any king's house. Meanwhile, Drupada had become the king of Panchala on the death of his father. Remembering about their earlier friendship and how Drupada had said that he would give him half his kingdom, Drona went to him, and he was very hopeful that he would be treated very generously. But he found the king very different from the friend that he knew him to be. When he introduced himself as an old friend, Drupada, far from being glad to see him, he was so drunk with power and he was so arrogant. He told him, "O Brahmana, how dare you address me familiarly as your friend? What friendship can there be between a throned king and a wandering beggar? What a fool must you be to presume on some long-past friendship with a king who rules a kingdom." So power had completely gotten into his head and friendship went outside the back door. How can a pauper means a person with no money. How can a pauper be the friend of a wealthy man, or an ignorant boor of a learned scholar, or a coward of a hero? Friendship can exist only between equals, he said. A vagrant beggar cannot be the friend of a sovereign. My goodness, how much would you do that to a friend just because a friend is someone who is poor, and just because later on in life you have become a little well off? A friend is always a friend, isn't it? Anyway, that's what he did. Drona was turned out of the palace with scorn in his ears and a blazing wrath in his heart. He made a mental vow to punish the arrogant king for this insult and his repudiation of the sacred claims of early friendship. His next move in search of employment was to go to Hastinapura. Does that ring a bell? Hastinapura? Who were there in Hastinapura? Pandavas and the Kauravas, right? Where he spent a few days in retirement in the house of his brother-in-law, Kripacharya. One day, the princes were playing with a ball outside the city. And in the course of the game, the ball, as well as Yudhishthira's ring, fell into a well. The princes all gathered around the well and saw the ring shining from the bottom through the clear water, but they could see no way of getting it out. They did not, however, notice that a Brahmana of dark complexion stood nearby watching them with a smile. "Princes," he surprised them by saying, "you are the descendants of the heroic Bharata race. Why cannot you take out the ball, as anyone skilled in arms should know how to do? Shall I do it for you?" Yudhishthira laughed and said in fun, "O Brahmana, if you take out the ball, we will see that you have a good meal in the house of Kripacharya," forgetting that Kripacharya was his brother-in-law. Then Drona, the Brahmana stranger, took a blade of grass and sent it forth into the well after reciting certain words of power for propelling it as an arrow. The blade of grass straightway sped and stuck into the ball. Afterwards, he sent a number of similar blades in succession, which clinging together formed a chain, wherewith Drona took out the ball. Princes, they were lost in amazement and delight, and begged of him to get the ring also. Drona borrowed a bow, fixed an arrow on the string, and sent it right into the ring. The arrow, rebounding, brought up the ring, and the Brahmana handed it to the prince with a smile. Seeing these feats, the princes were astonished and said, "We salute you, O Brahmana. Who are you? Is there anything we can do for you?" And they bowed to him. He said, "O princes, go to Bhishma and learn from him who I am." From the description given by the princes, Bhishma knew that the Brahmana was none other than the famous master Drona. He decided that Drona was the fittest person to impart further instruction and further learning to the Pandavas and the Kauravas. So Bhishma received him with lots of honor and employed him as the guru for the princes in the use of arms. As soon as the Kauravas and the Pandavas mastered the science of arms, Drona sent Karna and Duryodhana to seize Drupada and bring him alive in discharge of the duty they owed to him as their master. Whenever the Guru told the students something, the students were obliged to listen. They went as ordered by him, but they could not accomplish their task. Then the master sent forth Arjuna on the same errand. He defeated Drupada in battle and brought him and his ministers captive to Drona. Then Drona smilingly addressed Drupada, "Great king, do not fear for your life. In our boyhood, we were companions, but you were pleased to forget it, and you dishonored me. You told me that a king alone could be a friend to a king. Now, I am a king, having conquered revenge for the insult he had suffered, and set Drupada at liberty and treated him with honor." He just wanted to teach him a lesson. He did not go on like Amba forever and ever and ever and ever. He just stopped right there. He felt that Drupada had done him a great wrong and that he needed to teach him that friendship can exist between people who are poor and who are rich, between a coward and a hero, between someone who may be good at one thing and someone who is totally good at something else. Now, your friends, you have friends, don't you? Are all of them the same like you? No. Some are good at something and some are good at something else. So do you have to be exactly the same to be friends? That's right. Okay. Drupada's pride was thus humbled, but he was like Amba, and since hate is never extinguished by retaliation, and few things are harder to bear than the pangs of wounded vanity, hatred of Drona, and to be revenged, and a wish to be revenged, was a ruling passion for Drupada. He was more like Amba. He didn't want to forget this. He did not see it as he was at fault first and a correction of what Drona was doing. He wanted to get back. He wanted to have his revenge because Drona did this to him. The king performed tapas, underwent fasts, and conducted sacrifices in order to win the gratified gods to bless him with a son who would slay Drona and a daughter who would wed Arjuna. His efforts were crowned with success with the birth of Drishtadyumna. Am I saying it correct? Drishtadyumna, who commanded the Pandava army at Kurukshetra and helped by a strange combination of circumstances slew the otherwise unconquerable Drona, and birth of Draupadi, who was the wife of the Pandavas. Did you like the story? You listened so good. You must have enjoyed this story, huh? You listened really good. So next time, I'll just review this story. Let's see how many of you all were very good. I'm surprised. They remembered everything, even though there was such a long break. And they remembered everything. Ganesh, you're supposed to tell a story for us today. I haven't forgotten.
He did exactly what he had in his mind while he was gone.
I haven't forgotten. Your turn. Yeah, next time, I just want to make sure that everybody takes a turn. That's why. I know Shobha is really good. She likes to tell stories, but how about some others who have not had a turn? Who's going to do it next time? You've had a turn, right? You've never had a turn? Ramesh? Not had a turn? Rajneesh did. Okay. We'll give, let's see. Both of you want to tell a story next time?
Okay.
Okay. Short. With a value. Teaching something. Okay. Now listen to Ganesh.
The name of the story I'm going to tell is called Savitri. Savitri. Once upon a time, long, long ago, Ashwapati was king of Madhura Desha. He had a wife whose name was Malavi. They were very happy except for one thing. They had no children. They started worshipping goddess Savitri. 1 year passed. They still had no child. They continued praying for 18 years. Finally, goddess Savitri gave them a baby girl. They named her Savitri after the goddess herself. Savitri grew up and it was time for her to get married. A lot of princesses came and asked for her hand. But when they saw her, they felt very humble and withdrew. Ashwapati then sent her out to look for a husband. She went everywhere but could not find one. On the way back to Madhya Desha, she found a man, his wife, and his son in the forest. She learned that the man was once king of Salvadesha and has become blind. This made it easy for his enemies to attack the kingdom and to take over the city. The son was Satyavan, who Savitri lost her heart completely to. She went back to Madhya Desha to tell Ashwapati of it. When he heard Savitri, he wanted sage Narada's opinion, who had just arrived at the kingdom. Narada was a great sage. He could understand the past and foretell the future and knew everything because he wandered in all three worlds, earth, heaven, and the lower world. He told Ashwapati that Savitri had made a good choice except for one thing. Satyavan was to die a year from then. Savitri still wanted to marry Satyavan, and after convincing her father, the marriage took place. Many days passed. Days turned into months. Soon 11 months passed. Now it was 3 days. Savitri began to perform rigorous religious rites. On the day Satyavan was to die, he started the day usually and had to go to the forest for firewood. Savitri did not want to be separated from him. She therefore went with him to the forest. After a little while, he got a terrible headache and fell asleep. Then Yama, the god of death, came to take Satyavan's life away. To ordinary people, Yama is not visible. But because Savitri had so much spiritual power and performed many rigorous rites, she was able to see Yama. She asked Yama what he was doing, and Yama told her that he was taking the life of Satyavan away. He tied up the life of Satyavan and went away. After going a little way, Yama looked back and saw Savitri following him. He was amazed because no one ever followed the dead. Yama admired her, but he told Savitri to go back and do the last rites to Satyavan's body. Savitri said, "I have followed you this far, and I would like to talk to you." She told that Dharma is greater than anything else. Her Dharma was to be with her husband. Yama, pleased with these words, granted her a boon except Satyavan's return. She wanted her father-in-law's eyesight to be returned. Now Yama told her to leave, but Savitri continued to talk to him with wise words. Under the same conditions was granted another boon. She wanted her father-in-law to get back his kingdom and become king again. Now Yama told her to go again, but Savitri continued to talk with him. She was granted another boon. She asked for her father to have sons so that someone could rule after him. She continued to talk and pray with him and was given another boon. It was that Satyavan and Savitri have many sons. Then Savitri asked Yama, "How can I have children without a husband?" Yama, being a Dharma Raja, couldn't go back on his word. He admired her wisdom and returned Satyavan to life. Satyavan's father got back his eyesight and kingdom and became king. Satyavan became the crown prince. Question? Who did Savitri marry? Why did Ashwapati want sage Narada's opinion?
No.
Yeah, but why would he ask him of all of other people? Okay, Shobha.
Because he was still alive, because he's been to the three worlds and knows the past and future. And so he'd know if it would be a suitable match.
What was the one fate that Satyavan had?
What was that?
The one fate Satyavan had.
The fate. What was Satyavan's fate?
Okay.
That he would die in a year.
To ordinary people, Yama is not visible. Why is he visible to Savitri? Okay, Jaishri.
Because
What?
Boon is a wish that you get. So she did a lot of
She was working mantra.
penance.
Tapas.
Penance.
Tapas or penance.
Ritual rites.
Okay?
One last question. What was the moral of the story?
Hands going up.
No hands going up. What happened?
Here are some hands. Krishna has not
Krishna, dance. When you have somebody who doesn't have the hand, please.
Okay, Ammu.
Let's see.
The moral of the lesson is pretty good though. Sadhgari, right? So Krishna, you explain that a little further. That's pretty good. You can accomplish anything. Don't give up. Did you follow the questions yourself? They're excellent
Very
questions.
good.
Very, very good questions. And you read it very well too.
I didn't like them.
Very
You
good.
didn't like the questions?
But you're not the
I
judge.
wanted to give a harder
We-
one.
No, the questions are slowly going from easy to hard. That's the way it should go.
Correct. That means you're understanding it.
You understand. If you can ask questions in this way, that means you understand what you're
That's the
reading.
idea. sir.
May I have that, please? Yes, yes. Venkatesh uncle is missing. I've been telling him to come. Where is he? He's supposed to call one from your. Pick one of you.
Pick
to
any
tell
one of you to
the
tell a
story
story
about what you read for the Balavihar books. Okay, we are waiting for you, sir. Pick anyone. Pick anyone. यार निक चल रहा हमारे लिए पिक पढ़ूंगा.
Not me.
Not me.
Next time you have no choice. You can't say not me. You have to come up. You have to read the book you check out, and you have to say this.
How about him?
Goku. Okay, Goku couldn't check out last.
Oh, you didn't check out. Right. Okay, Jai Shri. Yeah? You're all doing other things.
Come on, Jayashri.
Come on.
Say about your book.
What book did you take?
Do you know the title of your
Did you
book?
read it? You forgot to read it.
What does that mean? What is the use in checking out books and us tallying it and making sure that you get a book if you take it and you don't read it?
Oh, yeah.
That's not
Ganesh told the story already.
No, Ganesh, no.
No.
Wait a minute. Jayashri? Next time if you're picked, you should not say that. You understand? So when you check out a book, you should read it.
How about you, Sona? Yeah? You didn't read either?
You should read the notes.
You must read. Next time we pick you, you must come forward and say the story.
Okay, Shobha. You'll get it done, don't worry.
It's already.
Shubha, I want you to tell the title of the story. Okay?
The name of my story is Anna.
Louder.
Listen.
The name of my story is Anna.
Anda.
Andar.
You have a book?
Andar.
Shubha, do you have your book here?
A-N-D-A-R. Andar. L.
Anda checked the name of the king to the throne.
Please show the book.
Big bag.
That'll solve it.
Shobha has come up with the carrot.
Got a big bag. Oh yeah.
Once you start reading, don't you think it's a lot of fun? It is just getting to the book.
Getting
Once
started.
you get started, it really is a lot of fun.
And you can't stop.
It's a lot of fun to read. It's not a chore. It's a good thing to do. You can enjoy that.
Okay. In South India, near Mathura in Tamil Nadu, there was a king called Vallabha. And then, he was a very wise ruler. And he was trying to see if there was any not good scholars in his kingdom. And so, I got his name.
That's okay. Just tell the gist of it. You don't have to tell it in great detail. What are some of the
Sage.
important things that happened?
A sage he was just a regular Brahmin, and so he debated, and he was really a very good scholar and everything. But he was very humble to the Lord and loved the Lord so much. And so one day that
Somebody else may like to use
one
it.
day that he had always hoped for a child. And one day he was planting flowers in his beautiful garden. His spade hit something really hard. And so he thought maybe it's a box of jewels. And he didn't want to have that. And so he thought, well, maybe if I sell them, I can get money, I can serve the Lord better. And so he took the box. And when he opened it, he found a baby girl there. But then he was wondering how he'd take care of her, because he didn't know how to take care of his little baby. And so he thought and thought, and then finally he decided to pray to the Lord and ask him to guide him. And so God guided him. He was able to raise the child.
Now, you can leave it at a very interesting point so that you tell them, I want someone else to find out what happened after this. At an interesting point. And then next time we will see who can complete it. So,
and then one day the Brahmin made a beautiful garland. It was the prettiest garland, the most biggest garland Andal had ever seen.
That was the girl's name, no, Andal.
And she wanted to marry. She wanted to wear it. And so, but she knew her father would get angry. And so she wanted to, so she said, all right, if I wear it, then I can see if it's just the right size, and I can put it on the Lord right. And so she, every morning she tried on, and it went on for a couple of days, so Brahmin didn't notice anything. One day he saw his child wearing the garland, and he asked her, what are you doing? Because whenever he picked them, he took care not to breathe, and so he'd smell them, and he barely touched the flowers. And so, and she herself was wearing it. And so then he always went empty-handed to the Lord and prayed for the Lord to forgive him and his child. But once the Lord spoke to him and said, oh, Brahmin, it is okay for me to wear that garland, because now it is even more fresh because of Andal's purity and love has now gotten into the garland. And so I'd like that garland. And so he was so happy because whenever he prayed, God never answered, but he was answering on Andal's behalf. And so he felt the child was very great. And Andal used to always love to sing like her father. And she made a set of songs called Tirupavai. Tirupave. And she sang these with her friends all the time. Once she was about to come to the age of marrying, and so her father was trying to think of a suitable bridegroom. But so he asked her who she'd like to marry, and she said that I'll only marry the Lord. And so he thought that's quite difficult. And then one day when he was asleep worrying about this, the Lord came to him in his dream and said that he wanted to marry Andal badly. And so Andal was taken, the king now had grown to be the Brahmin's friend, and so he was a big wedding party to take her to the temple. And then it was all decorated, and I'm going to stop there so that you can figure out what's next.
Very good. What happened next? Very, that means she has understood it and saying it very well. Now we would like to, people who have read their books this time, they check out a book. Those who did not read their books must first read their books before they check out a new book.
Right.
Okay? And Sonal and Jayashri, it most probably may be your turn next. Okay.
It's one of you two, for sure.
And you could check out Shobha's book and continue the story and see what happened after that. No, but you can't check out, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can. அதுக்கப்புறம் பாடுறேன். நீங்க அந்த ஒரு பாட்டு பாடினல அதை பாடுங்களேன். I like that song. We sang at the temple that day.
Ramapade, Ramapade. இல்ல Ramapade வச்சுமா
Sing that. It's such a nice song. And then we will end. Yeah, the time was nice.
Cover it down, okay?
No wonder. Okay, let's learn this song. Sit straight, close your eyes, sing. It's a nice song. But home first. Somebody hit the wrong note. Bhajaman Govinda, Bhajaman Gopala, Bhajaman Govinda, Bhajaman Gopala, Janardana Hari Sadhananda, Janardana Hari Sadhananda, Jaya 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 Ramapade, Jaya 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 Ramapade, Bhajamana Pyare Murali Wala, Bhajamana Pyare Murali Wala, Bhajamana Pyare He Ganashama, Bhajamana Pyare He Ganashama, Bhajamana Govinda, Bhajamana Gopala, Bhajamana Govinda, Bhajamana Gopala, Dayanide Hari Kripanide, Dayanide Hari Kripanide, Jaya 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 Ramapade, Jaya 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 Ramapade, Bhajamana Pyare Yashoda Bala, Bhajamana Pyare Yashoda Bala, Bhajamana Pyare He Ganashama, Bhajamana Pyare He Ganashama, Bhajamana Govinda, Bhajamana Gopala, Bhajamana Govinda, Bhajamana Gopala, Dina Dayala Purna Kripala, Dina Dayala Purna Kripala, Jaya 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 Ramapate, Jaya 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 Ramapate, Bhajamana Pyare Bansi Wala, Bhajamana Pyare Bansi Wala, Bhajamana Pyare Radhe Shama, Bhajamana Pyare Radhe Shama, Bhajamana Govinda, Bhajamana Gopala, Bhajamana Govinda, Bhajamana
Sarve bhavantu sukhina